Socialism versus capitalism in An Inspector Calls. Let's start off with the rise of socialism. So An Inspector Calls was set in 1912 in pre-war Britain, that's pre-First World War. There was a strong class system which people generally stuck to, and society was generally capitalist. The upper classes benefited more from life than the lower classes did. In a capitalist society, a small number of people, namely the wealthy upper class, invest in and own all means of production. This basically means of making goods, services, and so on. In those days, it would literally have meant the means of producing things like, basically objects and items, but it can mean other things as well, producing services. And then the distribution of goods, which is moving around. Lower class people then work for them, earn a small amount of money, so individual businesses are privately owned, and this means that few people in society hold all of the wealth and power. But then at the start of the 20th century, people were beginning to rebel against capitalist society. People wanted a fairer, more equal society instead. From the 1910s onwards, more and more strikes took place because low-class workers were unhappy with their working conditions and their capitalist society. Earlier in the century, the Labour movement had really taken off, and the Labour Party had been formed basically for the representation of working class in Parliament. So that's kind of all happening right at the beginning of the 20th century. And then, in the 1920s and 30s, the Great Depression hit. This caused huge economic problems, which one of the causes of this financial crash was the cost of World War I. So let's just quickly recap all of that. In a capitalist society, a small number of people, the wealthy upper class, invest in and own all means of production and distribution of goods. Lower class people work for them and earn a small amount of money. Industry and businesses are privately owned, and this often means that few people in society hold all of the wealth and power. What was Priestley's view of socialism then? So An Inspector Calls was written in 1945, but the text was set in 1912, just before the outbreak of World War I in 1914. J.B. Priestley lived through and fought in World War II. He saw the devastating consequences of war and capitalism. Priestley's view on wars was that he suggests that selfish people cause wars. They only care about their own success and power, and do not care about the impact of their own selfish acts. He had an anti-capitalist message too. He saw the outcome of the world wars, where so many people had been killed and countries had been left in ruins. He wanted to show his audience that capitalist ideas could cause enormous problems. He also wanted to show people that society needed to change. People needed to care more for one another. People also needed to end their obsessions with self-importance, power, and wealth. He was a socialist. He believed that in society people should take care of one another. He believed that wealthy people have a duty to look out after poorer people, and believed that we should tax the wealthy more to fund a welfare state. And he believed that we should end the class system. So, just recapping Priestley's socialist views, he believed we should tax the wealthy more to fund a welfare state, we should end the class system, and wealthy people have a duty to look after poorer people. How does the socialism affect the characterisation of the characters within Priestley's play? Mr. Burling is made to look like an idiot, and this kind of means that the upper classes look like idiots because of his obsession with capitalist ideas. Priestley uses dramatic irony to make Burling look foolish. This is when the audience knows something that the characters don't. So, for example, Burling says that the Titanic would never sink and there would never be a war, and the audience knows full well that both those things are incorrect. And then Priestley also uses the Burlings and Gerald to highlight the unfairness in the capitalist society. The story of Eva Smith to show how selfish capitalist attitudes can hurt individual people. So, quickly recapping that, what is dramatic irony? Is it when the audience knows something that the characters don't? When the plot of the play is very dramatic? When the characters know something the audience doesn't? The correct answer is when the audience knows something the characters don't. Let's just throw it all the way back to the rise of socialism. What is the vague timetable for the rise of socialism and other key events in Britain? Well, in the 1910s onwards, more and more strikes were taking place, workers were unhappy with their working conditions in the capitalist society. Then in 1912, an Inspector Calls is set, and the society was generally capitalist. Later on in the 1920s and 30s, the Great Depression hit, which caused huge economic problems, and one of the causes of this financial crash was the cost of World War I. What did the Burlings and Gerald highlight? Is it the positive aspects of capitalism, the unfairness in a capitalist society, the generosity of the wealthy, or the unfairness in a socialist society? The correct answer is that it's the unfairness in a capitalist society. And that's everything you need to know about socialism in J.B. Priestley's play.